Well, welcome, little listeners, and, welcome to anyone who's just young at heart, to tonight's special explainer. I'm going to lower my voice a little bit tonight, keep things soft and slow, because we're exploring a very gentle bedtime tale. So go ahead and snuggle deep down into your blankets. Take a nice, slow, deep breath in, and let it out. Once upon a time, there was a really kind, gentle doctor, and his name was Gulliver. When work got just a little scarce in his bustling city, he didn't worry, and he absolutely didn't fuss. Instead, he bravely found a job on this grand wooden ship. Just imagine the soft, salty ocean breeze lightly brushing against his face, kind of whispering to him and guiding him out across the sparkling water toward a brand new life.
Now, let me ask you this. Have you ever felt just a little too big for the room? Imagine just for a moment that you're walking into a magical world where everything around you is wonderfully, impossibly tiny. Go ahead and hook your sleepy imagination right onto that thought. Feel your toes getting nice and warm under the covers, and let's put ourselves right into Gulliver's very large, heavy shoes as he sets off on his grand, peaceful journey across the sea.
All right, Chapter 1, The Storm at Sea, a bumpy ocean ride.
So, out on the water, the sky grew just a little bit dark, and a sudden, loud rumble of thunder struck the clouds. The waves grew huge and bumpy, rocking that big wooden ship back and forth, up and down, until, gently but firmly, the ship tipped over. Gulliver found himself in a little rowing boat, splashing just a bit in the wonderfully warm ocean water. But the ocean wasn't angry at all. The gentle, rhythmic currents were just guiding him along. The water swooshed and swashed, carrying our very tired, very sleepy hero, safely and softly, right onto a quiet, warm, sandy beach. The sand felt soft, almost like a cushion beneath him, and he finally closed his heavy, heavy eyes and fell into a deep sleep.
Moving right along to Chapter 2, Tiny Lilliput, a Giant Awakes.
When Gulliver slowly, groggily opened his eyes from that very long, deep nap, he felt a tiny, funny tingle all over his arms and legs. He looked down and saw he was covered in what felt like little wooden toothpicks. Surrounding him in the soft green grass were little people, literally as small as the palm of his hand. And as you might guess, they were very frightened of this giant doctor waking up on their beach. But Gulliver didn't move fast. He spoke to them in the softest, warmest whisper. He said, "Please stop. Don't worry. I'm not going to hurt you." He stayed completely still, breathing in and out slowly, showing them that even though he was huge and heavy, his heart was just as gentle and kind as theirs.
Once the little people realized he was actually a kind friend, they scurried about, bringing him tiny, delicious morsels of food and sweet little drops of water to drink. Then, it was time to move him to their town, and it took hundreds, yes, literally hundreds, of tiny, clip-clopping little horses to do it. Clip-clop, clip-clop. They gently pulled our sleepy giant on a special wooden cart all the way into their beautiful miniature hometown of Lilliput. Just picture all those tiny hooves making a soft, steady rhythm, gently pulling the resting doctor along the winding dirt path as the sun began to set.
When they finally reached the quiet little town, the king of Lilliput asked Gulliver to make a promise, kind of an agreement of gentle rules. He asked Gulliver to always remember permission. The promise to ask kindly before picking anyone up with his big, giant hands. Gulliver happily smiled and agreed to this gentle rule. He used his big, strong hands to kindly carry cool water for the little people, and he helped fix their tiny wooden buildings, always moving slowly and always remembering to be incredibly careful and gentle with his tiny new friends.
Chapter 3, The Hero Saves the Day, a Clever, Quiet Plan. So, one day there was a scary neighboring army getting ready to bother the peaceful people of Lilliput. But Gulliver? Well, he had a clever, quiet plan to keep everyone safe. First, he whispered to his little friends, asking them to gather up as much metal wire as they could find, twisting it softly into a long, strong string. Then, when the moon was high and glowing quietly in the midnight sky, he snuck silently through the cool water over to the enemy's port. Finally, with slow, careful movements, he gently tied all their empty ships together. With a soft, steady pull, he waded through the calm sea, towing the ships all the way back to Lilliput's shore, stopping the fight without anyone getting hurt at all.
And his helpfulness didn't stop there either. A little while later, a sudden bright fire broke out in the king's tiny stone castle. But Gulliver was right there to help. He quickly, but carefully, grabbed one of the empty ships in the harbor, scooped up a whole ship full of cool seawater, and poured it smoothly over the castle. With a soft, rushing splash, the water tumbled down. The fire was out instantly, leaving only little puffs of white smoke drifting into the sky. And just like that, Gulliver became the king's absolute most trusted, helpful friend.
Which brings us to Chapter 4, Jealousy in the Castle, Rumors in the Dark.
But as the king's advisors watched Gulliver, a dark, heavy cloud of worry took over their minds. "We can't live in fear like this," they whispered to each other in the shadowy halls. The truth was, they were a little bit jealous that the king liked Gulliver so much. So they whispered untrue rumors in the dark. They said Gulliver was too strong and that he might turn against them. Sadly, they let their cold fear convince the good king to make a sad plan to punish our gentle giant. It shows us that sometimes being scared makes people forget how to be kind, and their worry hides the love in their hearts.
The king had decided he would take away Gulliver's eyesight and limit his warm meals. But thankfully, a kind castle worker who truly loved Gulliver snuck out into the quiet, still night. He tiptoed to where Gulliver was sleeping under the stars and whispered a secret warning in the dark. Gulliver knew right then that he couldn't stay where people were so afraid of him. He had to leave. So, stepping softly into the cool night water, feeling the gentle ripples wash over his knees, he slipped silently away into the calming darkness.
Chapter 5. The Friendly Enemy Island. A Midnight Swim. Gulliver slowly, carefully waded and swam his way through the peaceful ocean to the island across the sea. Now, while Lilliput had been filled with fearful rumors, the people of this neighboring island, the ones they called the enemy, well, they were wonderfully different. They saw Gulliver gently return their ships from the water, and they realized instantly that he didn't have a mean bone in his body. They welcomed him with wide-open arms and warm, friendly smiles. The king there even told him he could stay for as long as he liked. It's a beautiful, comforting lesson that sometimes people are much, much kinder than the silly rumors say they are.
Chapter 6. The Journey Back Home, A Warm Goodbye. While walking on the peaceful shore one sunny afternoon, Gulliver found something very special washed up on the warm sand. It was his old rowing boat from when his big ship had tipped over so long ago. The kind new king cheerfully gathered his men to help repair the boat, hammering softly to make it sturdy and strong again. Then they shared a wonderfully warm, smiling goodbye. Finally, Gulliver bravely set off, rowing his little boat to a slow, steady rhythm right into the vast, calm ocean. He trusted that a larger ship would soon come to safely carry him all the way back to his loving family. And sure enough, drifting gently under the stars, one finally did.
Which brings us to the end of tonight's explainer, and to a very quiet question just for you. What magical adventures await you out in the big, calm ocean of your own dreams? As you sink deeper into your pillow, let your eyes stay heavy and closed, and let your breathing slow all the way down. Imagine your own wonderful journeys, filled with kindness and gentle ocean waves. Thank you for resting here with me for this gentle tale. Rest well, little learners, sleep tight, and good night.